Well, have you, buddy? It's another Conversations with, and I'm delighted to sit with my good friend Richard Morco, and Richard is here with us, and I don't even know where to begin,
I do.
other than say Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, and I hope you're, I haven't changed my costume yet from Halloween, but here
No,
we
so
are. I'm very disappointed. We have some really great locations here, Sturbridge, Southbridge, West Warren, wherever that is. And we didn't get Amazon's second headquarters here. I can't understand it.
no, that would have been. You know what would have been great? Up in West Brookfield, overlooking the lake. Would have been
Beautiful.
perfect spot.
Oh,
And then
yes.
during lunch, they could go swimming.
Yes.
Yeah, take their
And-
boats out.
And my house goes from being worth nothing to
Yeah, yeah. But no, and you know, it was Howie Carr had a great column this morning about what a blessing in disguise. Amazon did Boston the biggest favor they've ever. He said it was almost as bad as the 2024 Olympic fiasco. You know, he said almost. He said, can you imagine that opening in Boston at the seaport, and and trying to get on the trains, the T that is decrepit, as he called it, the decrepit T MBTA, trying to lug people down there. And he says, you can't find a place to park now. He said, traffic, you can't go to Boston between 7 and 9 in the morning in an automobile. And he said, or between 3 and 6 at night. So what were they thinking about? He says, but thank Jeff. He says, thank Jeff so much for not coming.
And the people in Long Island City, New York, and in Northern Virginia think they've won something. This Bezos guy
Yeah.
is no dope. He took you.
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then, I was hoping that the Paw Sox would come to Sturbridge. And that didn't, I mean, we're in 84 and the Pike.
Yeah.
We're the perfect location.
Well, let me ask you a question. Let's talk about that. That's an interesting concept. Where would we put the stadium? Take the town hall down, put it there?
Well, what are they doing with it now?
Not much.
You know, I mean, so, okay, look at, it's perfect. But we
Yeah.
didn't get it.
But look at how long it took the fella to put up the Holiday Inn Express. Took him 5 years. And now it's all blue, and there's people over there, Penny and her gang, rattling sabers, that they don't like the blue color. You know, so imagine a ballpark. What would they do?
Painted blue.
Oh, they'd be all set.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, where would we put it?
Oh, what do you call it? That gas station.
Put it up at Tantasca. Oh yeah, that's right on the corner there.
Yeah.
Across from the beautiful new CVS.
Yeah, Yankee Spirits is there. And,
Yeah, yeah.
There's all kinds of. It could have been done, and
Yeah.
nobody in the town. in
Even
the
jumped
area.
up, didn't want it.
Yeah,
No.
and but Worcester, now Worcester will be paid.
And they could be called the Stir Sox.
I was thinking we would do something, just not Red Sox, because what's our regional bird? Unofficial. It's the wild turkey that runs around.
Yeah.
So.
They could be
So it
called
could
the
be
Sturbridge
The
Turkeys.
Sturbridge Turkeys, but like the Paw Sox, it would be the Sturkeys. So,
Yeah.
I mean, really, think of it. I was going to corner the souvenir market.
And we could have a mascot would be a turkey.
There you go.
Have a
I
kid
mean,
dressed up as a
so,
turkey.
or any state representative, and they wouldn't have to dress up.
No.
I take that back. I'm sorry. That was.
No, but that's interesting. Gee, I never thought of that. And we got a lot of land here in Charlton. We could have certainly built them a ballpark.
Okay, what would be the name of the team in Charlton? Because I can't come up with that.
The Grizzlies.
The Charlton Grizzlies.
There we are.
The Trizzlies.
Named after Grizzly Adams.
Grizzly Adams.
That's right.
Yeah, the Grizzlies.
You know.
I think.
Or we could call them the Trains, because at one time Charlton was the big hub back in the early 1900s of all the original trains from Worcester.
Yeah.
We could call them the Charlton Overlooks.
The Overlooks.
Yeah, there we are.
And probably there's land near Overlook that, so the.
Oh, we could put, great. They got all kinds of land up there.
So.
Yeah.
So. Our gain is Worcester's loss because they actually got it. And,
Yeah.
we don't have to.
Good luck to them and the
Yeah.
Red Sox.
What was it? $100 million on the credit card.
Credit card, yeah.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's going to be very interesting, and what's it? 2020? They're supposed to be in there.
Yeah. I have a prediction. they will be a success as a team. The city will lose money, and in about 20 or 30 years, when they built a real rapport with the fans, and there's a bond there between the fans and the team,
And they want to.
they'll go somewhere else.
Well, because the stadium's going to be 20 years old.
Yeah, so
and the showers in the locker room aren't working as well as they used to.
The mildew will be terrible.
Yeah.
So
And the seats are kind of dilapidated. So
Keep New Hampshire.
No. Build us a new stadium, we'll stay. Build us a new stadium and we'll stay. But if you don't, we'll move to someplace else. We can go to Springfield. You know, we can go out to Pittsfield. They used to have a team out there.
Yeah.
Pittsfield Red Sox were out there for many years.
Pit Sox.
Yeah, they're in the pits, all right. But at any event, and then of course we have the midterms.
The midterms.
And we have a situation where the Blues got more than the Reds, and so we're going to have a shake-up in the House in Washington.
Yes, we will.
I note with interest that I happen to think that the current speaker must have known that the party was over because he decided not to run. And
I think he was always had his eye on a think tank or something.
Yeah.
And said to be the strategic senior fellow of something somewhere. So he was always.
Well, one of the things I know about our corrupt government is that they always have a job. They always have a place to go when they decide either not to run or they lose. They end up better off than they were.
Yes.
And the reason they end up better off than they were, because of course they keep their pay.
Yeah.
And they get their pension from the United States government. Then they get these big, usually it's a collegiate job. They're the professor of political science at some major university that pays them $400,000 or $500,000 a year. And they teach there, you know, and if you're an ex-president, you can make $100,000 by going out and speaking for 20 minutes, you know, at a conference, and usually talk about something you know nothing about.
That's what they did when they were president.
Yeah.
Plus ça change, plus la même chose.
Yeah.
That's basically how it works.
Yeah. And then we had some excitement when the president decided, when he was over in France, visiting his good friend Merkel and his pal Macron, and he and Putin shook hands, but that's all they did. And he was over there, and he decided that, well, the Secret Service decided that there was a little precipitation, and that he shouldn't go to the cemetery, and he didn't go. And at first they couldn't fly the helicopter. Then he didn't want to disrupt the traffic by taking a motorcade. And then what's her name? Sanders?
The press secretary.
Yeah, she's press secretary. She came out and had a different view. She said he was ordered by the Secret Service not to do it. And so he stayed in his hotel room. And there was a big brouhaha about that. And then he was alone. The headline was, he was alone in Paris. That nobody bothered with him, nobody spoke to him because he was talking his nationalism. And they all kind of, you know, the bind is though, since they're all on the take to the United States, they better be careful because he's a bully, and he wouldn't bother him at all to cut him off.
I wish he would.
You know.
I wish he would quit NATO and come home. Why do we still have troops in Europe?
Oh, don't get me going on that one.
I'm getting you going.
What it cost, can you imagine? First of all, who are we to be still in Germany? Who are we to be still in Japan? Who are we? That war ended in 1945.
Yes, it did.
And we're still there.
Yep.
And we have major forces there.
Okay. You know your buddy Howie. I know you're not. Howie Carr's not your buddy.
Well,
But he had.
Someday I'll tell you a great story about Howie and I.
He had Ann Coulter once. You know, after we had left Iraq, and we had to leave Iraq because they wouldn't give us a status of forces agreement, and supposedly they were now a free country, and they told us to leave.
Yeah.
They did invite us back after the chestnuts were back in the fire.
Yeah.
But They're going on. All he had to do was leave 10,000 troops in Iraq, and you know, you didn't, because we won that war. You haven't won a war if you have to leave troops there.
No.
You haven't won the war. And we didn't win World War II.
Yeah.
We had, because we still had to have
Well, Germany,
70,000 troops in Germany.
The funny part is that the reason we have, Germany wants the troops there.
Yeah, because they don't want to pay for their own defense.
No, and the economy, you know what that does for their economy?
Yep, they have an
We're
economic
spending
miracle.
millions and
Yeah.
millions of dollars. We have bases and military people and families living there.
Living there.
And it's bringing them, it's a economic boom.
There probably isn't a beer hall in Germany that isn't kept afloat by an American GI.
That's right. You know, and the same in Japan, and we're in Afghanistan, and we're...
Afghanistan? What are we doing in Afghanistan?
Yeah.
They don't want us. The
No.
war is unwinnable.
Yeah, you can't win. We haven't
Yeah.
won. We've been there.
Nobody's won.
Nobody
The
won.
only person who even came close to winning was Alexander the Great, and he didn't stay.
No, he left.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's unbelievable how, and you know, you start to think about, and this is what really gripes me. We got people in this country who haven't eaten today. People who haven't got a place to sleep.
Yep.
But boy, we got money for every country that gets a hurricane or a mudslide.
Yeah.
We can send 6 airplanes,
Yeah.
300 Marines, $20 million, and 50 doctors. But boy, we can't even take care of our own people.
That's true.
And that's a tragedy.
But don't worry, the people in the military-industrial complex are making money hand over fist. And do you begrudge that, Mr. Vaughn? Really?
Well, you know, I don't mind people making money that they really earn and they work hard to get. But what troubles me the most is people who make money because they steal it. And we have it here in Massachusetts. All right, we have a corrupt state police. We now have a new expose that came out last week. We have people from the environmental police who retire at 65 with a huge pension, and then they were stealing too. They were fake overtime to build up the last 3 years
Yeah.
to get the pension up, and then because there's a loophole in the law, they retire at 60, 70 grand a year, and then they can collect unemployment because they left work and at 65, and they call themselves forced out, okay? And therefore, they can collect for 7.5 months. However, if you lose your job, you can only collect for 6 months. They get an extra month and a half, okay? So that's stealing money from you and I, in my opinion. So that's the latest. And I'm wondering, and I can't wait to get Representative Durant and Smoller and Senator Goby here and say, when are you going to start closing up some of these loopholes? Okay? And we have a governor who had a huge re-election.
Yeah.
And if I were the governor, I would have been all over that one. I'll close the loophole. You know, I'll file the bill tomorrow morning. They can't do that. You know?
Now remember about this governor, though. He's a Republican, but he's, quote, bipartisan.
Yeah.
And that means, sometimes it means, I didn't see that.
Well, but here's the problem he's got. And it didn't even affect him in the election. His driver, during the campaign, he appointed head of the environmental police. And his driver went south on him. He's the guy that got caught and got fired. I mean, Charlie fired him to his credit,
Yeah.
but it was his guy.
At least he fired him.
I give him credit. Don't get me
do
wrong.
you think Patrick would have...
Oh, no. Patrick would never have fired him.
How about the guy before Patrick? Do we ever even
I have to
remember?
tell you a great story. I had my physical last Friday, my annual physical at Mass General. And after I get all my work done, and my doctor says, by the way, he told me this, you're doing great, he says. If you promise me, and he teaches at Harvard, so he had a resident, so I had 2 doctors, a new young doctor, and my guy, Dr. Goro, right through me. I'm in great shape. And he says to me, if you promise me you will not run in front of a big truck, I'll give you another 10 or 12 years. I thought that was wonderful. So I get out and get my...
But you were probably going to go right out and do that if he hadn't said it.
Let me tell you. So I get out and get my blood work. And this very well-looking gentleman comes in, beautiful top coat, comes in and he sits down. And I look over and I said, Governor, nice to see you. And he says, oh, hi, how are you? It was Governor Weld.
Oh, that's, yeah.
Governor Bill Weld. And so when we were leaving the hospital, he got on the elevator with us because his blood work got done at the same time. Jen and I were going uptown to visit, have lunch, and then visit some friends. And so we were walking with him, and he got a little ahead of us, and he was going back to his law firm. And 2 or 3 people going by, I think that was Governor Weld, you know. And I said to him, he says, you know, he said, it's funny. He said, Governor, he said, you got my attention. He says, out of sight, out of mind. He says, most people don't know who I am from a cord of wood. And he says, they used to chase me down the street at one time. and we laughed, you know.
So you know the difference between your blood work and his?
No, I don't. I didn't.
His is measured in proof.
Yeah, well, yeah, you know. So that was.
I didn't say that. I did not say that.
But that was Billy, and it was great to see him, and he looked terrific. And I asked him how he was doing. He says, well, I feel a lot better now than I did when I came in here an hour ago.
Oh, good.
My doctor told me I'm going to make it.
That's good.
So we laughed. But anyway, I digress. It's really interesting, you know, how sad it is, and a lot of people find it very difficult to understand it, how corrupt our governments really are. You know, with the deals they made and the I mean, you know, and it can't be done. But if there was a way to take the union contract for the Metropolitan Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority, the MBTA, and take that contract and tear it up and write a new one, do you know the T would make money? That's the tragedy. The T would make, the T, and I say make money, the T would end up
with a surplus.
There'd be a surplus at the end of every year. Yeah. And the problem is that the union contracts over the years that were done, and they just keep piling it on and piling it on. They can work 20 years, they can retire, and come back and get rehired. Okay? Okay? And not only that, but there's no heavy lifting. You get on the T, and one of the inspectors will jump on, and he'll ride for 3 stops and chirp with the driver, which the big sign says, do not talk to driver while train is in motion. But he can do it. And I yelled at him one day, what are you doing talking to him? And he looked at me. I said, you see that sign right there? Why don't you obey your own signs? And of course, the guy looked at me like my wife says, you know, someday some guy's going to pull a gun and shoot you. You know, I said, there's a big sign. Do not talk to operator while train is in motion. And the guy's on the train chirping with him. Yeah. You know, I said, all I'm figuring is when I go, whoop, hit a cross switch, whoop, off what track we go. You know, but the thing is that's the sad part is. The sad part. And I know, for instance, I've told you the story about the registry. It's a cash cow.
Yep.
Makes millions of dollars a year. And I just get my registrations. They charge $50 for the plate. You know, I mean, it's just an outrage. My plate, well, I was there because I just helped design the new plate when I was at the registry. We had the old green ones, and Dukakis got the law passed that you had to have a front plate and a back plate. Do you know we still have green plates on the road? You can't read them. They're hardly visible. And I've said to the registrar, I said, tell them that on January 1st, well, they're supposed to do that at the sticker stations. Then why do we still have green plates? They're not doing it, registrar. They're not doing it. And I said, you can't even read the plates. Well, we'll have to work on that. No, you don't. You're the registrar. All green plates must be off the road January 1st. Period.
Yeah, they've had their run.
Yeah, take them back and get a new one. You know, but it's funny. When you say that to them, I said it to the lieutenant governor. I said it to the governor when I saw him in a political event. Oh, we got to work on that. No, Governor. You're the governor. You pick up the phone and you tell the registrar who you appointed, do it.
But
What's there to work on?
But Dickie, you have to understand this. When he said, "We'll work on it," he'd say, "I don't care," was what he was really
Oh,
saying.
yeah, could care less.
Yeah, you've got to interpret Massachusetts bureaucratic English. It's not like English, in that much of English doesn't have a connection to reality. But bureaucratic English has no connection to reality.
Oh, no, no. And there's a tragedy. And the tragedy really is that it ends up that you and I and all you wonderful folks out there, you're paying for it all. You're the ones that are taking the hit. I want to talk about hospitals. We here in the Commonwealth just went through an election where we had nurses, rank and file nurses against administrations. The hospital spent $22 million and the nurses spent $8 million in advertising. Spent $30 million. Now I studied negotiations and I used to one of my jobs in my life was I used to negotiate contracts all the time, police, fire for one of the towns, and then I had my own businesses. And every year I'd meet with my individual staff and we'd make a deal for the next year. And I know that between what you want and what I want, there's a number that we can agree on. Simple. And we spent $30 million. And you know who's going to pay for that $30 million?
Can I guess? Let me put up my hand. Would that be the taxpayer?
You and I. And
Yes.
Here's how we're going to pay for that. Those hospitals who are so struggling came up with $22 million to beat this down, right? So they wouldn't have to bring in extra nurses. That was what it was all about. The nurses said we should have five patients to each nurse. They said no. Well, somewhere between the nurses' demand of 5 patients and the hospital's demand of unlimited, there could be a number, 7, 8, 9. They could have worked it out, settled it, but the hospital spent $22 million of money supposedly that they don't have. But boy, they came up with it. And you and I are going to get it in our insurance rates.
Yep.
Now, I'll give you an example. Last time I was in the hospital, and of course I'm a nut, and I'm the first to it. My hand is up. I'm a
I'll
nut.
kill the man who said it.
And I get my bill and I check it. And I'm looking down that bill, and I went to the hospital, have a meeting with them. They charged me $38 for a pill. You can't bring your own pills in there when you come. They won't let you bring your own. You already got them, but you can't have them. So you go in there. They charged me $38 for a pill that I pay 40 cents for. So I questioned it. And my explanation was, well, we have a pharmacist who had to get the pill. And then there's a person who has to take the pill from the pharmacy, get on the elevator, go to the second floor, bring it to the nurse's station, and give it to the nurse, who then takes it and puts it in a little cup and brings it down to you with a glass of water so you can take it. And we have to make sure you take it, Mr. Vaughn. You still haven't told me where $38 come in for a pill that costs 40 cents. Well, but we have the pharmacist. Let me ask you a question. Is the pharmacist there 24 hours at the hospital? Oh yeah, we have to have a pharmacy. So he's already there. He's already on the payroll. Now what about the little girl? Did she come in? Did you call her and say, oh, Dick Vaughn needs a pill. You got to come into work today and bring it up to him? Oh, no. She works in the pharmacy. Oh, so she's already there. Now, the nurse on the floor that brought me the pill, she just came in to bring me the pill? And you had to pay her for 4 hours because she worked 3 minutes to walk down the hall? Oh, no. She's on the floor. Oh, so they're already all there. You still haven't told me where the $38 comes in. It gets better. I go down a little further, and when you get discharged, the nurse brings you a big packet and goes over everything with you. Well, a doctor has to sign you out of the hospital. So I see a thing on there. Dismissal, Dr. Gamudi, $118. So I said, what's this? Oh, the doctor has to sign you out. He wrote his name on a piece of paper that was all prepared by a nurse. Is that right? Right. Why do I have to pay? Mr. Vaughn, you're complaining. You don't have to pay any of this. Your insurance company's paying it. Well, who do you think pays them? And when my insurance went up last year, why do you think it went up? I said, now that doctor you have, is he an in-house doctor? Oh yeah, he's called a floor doctor. He works for the hospital. So all he does all day long is sign people out. Is that right? Oh yeah, you have to have a doctor's signature to leave the hospital. Okay, so let's say 118 bucks a pop. So let's say he discharges 30 people that day. Imagine how much money he just earned for the hospital at $118 each. And they look at me like I'm saying, you people are, this is gouging. This is ripping people off. Well, we have to pay that doctor. You don't pay him $3,000 a day.
115 for a signature?
Yeah.
Boy.
I'd get a stamp and say, here you go.
Yeah.
I have that arm going all day. Okay? But that's what people don't understand, Richard. How we, the little guys, the rank and file Americans, the good old guys, wave the flag and go to church on Sundays. We're the ones that pay for the freight.
Of course.
We're paying for the freight.
Of course.
And that's the sad part of it all. And when we get angry and when we get mad enough and when we start standing up and saying, hey, this is enough, you know, and the insurance companies are complicit.
Oh, yeah.
I have medication and one of the things I have to take, and you buy these policies, is it's like $1,100 and I have to pay $150 of that, you know, every month. And you say to yourself, that company makes, first of all, if they just stop advertising on television, they could cut the price of the pill in half. Okay? First of all, and you see the machines that make these pills, they make millions a day.
Yes. Yeah.
And they charge you something like $210 a pill?
Well, they would tell you that the research into that pill, they would tell you that.
Oh, yeah. Research and development.
Yeah.
And that's also getting doctors to make sure they give it out to you, whining and dining them, and, by the way, making heavy contributions to the campaigns for everybody in the Senate to make sure that they have a 7-year deal, that pill's protected for 7 years before it can become generic.
Yeah.
And then what they do, and this is the latest trick, I have asthma. I have a squirter, a nebulizer. And what they did, it was running out. Okay? And it was going to become generic. They changed the container that it comes in. They put a mouthpiece on it. And they got an extension for 7 more years.
Ah, brilliant.
Had nothing to do with the little canister.
Brilliant.
But the delivery system was changed.
There you go. Dude.
And they got a 7-year extension. Because I was watching it, because I was saying, oh boy, it's expensive. It's going to drop. And they came up with a new gadget to deliver it to your mouth, and they got an extension.
Don't you feel better with that thing there on there? Didn't it help you?
Nothing to do with me. It covers the mouthpiece, and I have to take the thing off to take it in. It gave me I have to do an extra job now to pull that thing off.
You needed the exercise, Dick. Now,
yeah, my fingers. Yeah, my fingers. Richard, it's always a delight. It's always a delight.
Here in the United States.
I have to tell you, I was coming out of church last week, and a great friend of mine, Mike Gillespie, good pal, comes running over to me, and he says, I can't wait for that next show that you two old guys do.
Old guys?
Old guys, yeah.
I'm only 25 years and 480 months. How dare they say that?
And he says, I sit in my house, and I get a bag of popcorn, and he says, I watch that show, and he says, it's the greatest show. He says, I just sit there, and I have tears rolling down. He says, you guys are unbelievably good.
I'll have tears too, calling me an old guy.
So anyway, he says, you guys are great. He says, because you tell it like it really is. And he says, and I think that's wonderful. And he says, my mother and I watch that show, and he says, we just love it. So I said thank you. I had to share that with you.
Mr. Gillespie, thank you.
Yeah, very
Tell
good.
your friends.
Okay, folks, that's another Conversations With.